All
Mm-hmm.
the church has to do is wait a couple of days. They don't have to pay a fee. They just got to wait a couple of days.
That's interesting. And as I think about that, and I heard and I
Unless,
understand it.
I'm sorry, wait, Pastor, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you, but
No, go ahead.
unless it's a business, I don't know if a business has to pay a fee
Okay.
regardless.
Okay.
So I don't know. That part I don't know.
I want to find out, Sharice. I do know, when you go into your Cash App, it'll say if you want to do it instantly, how much it'll cost, and
Yes.
then they'll tell you to wait. No, most of the time,
Right.
they say wait till Tuesday.
Yes.
Like, remember the hamburger? What's his name? Wimpy. Was it Wimpy that always said, "I'll pay you back on Tuesday"?
Yeah, I'll pay you
Uh,
for a burger, for a hamburger today.
but here is my thing. Does it matter how much it is?
No,
Like, let's say
it
it's
doesn't matter how much it is.
even if it's $100,000, it'll deposit
No,
into your
you're
account.
not. It's Cash App. It ain't gonna be 100,000.
How come it won't? What if you got?
Because if you look at your profile, it tells you a limit.
Oh, there's a limit. Okay,
There's a limit.
See, I didn't know that.
Just go to your profile and it tells you your limit.
I'm gonna see what my limit is.
Yes,
If my
and
limit
businesses have bigger limits,
Amen.
so it'll tell you your limit.
Well, I'm gonna have to tell people my limit is don't go over $10,000, but be a blessing up until that point. I'm glad you told me that because that makes a difference. So I did a survey before the broadcast today, Sharice.
Okay.
And so it was supposed to be 10 pastors, but I ended up surveying 9 pastors. Okay. And I asked the question, I said, do you prefer to have cash or digital transactions with your members?
Mm-hmm.
Out of the 9 that I did speak with,
mm-hmm.
all of them said both. All of them said both.
All of them said both. That's interesting.
All of them said, correction, I'm sorry. All of them said both except for one.
And what did the one?
Let me tell you what the one pastor said. And that question sparked another question. So before I asked the second question, I wanted to see what the answer was. So all of them said both with this conversation behind it. At the end of the day, people gonna give and whatever is convenient. And so then I said, so since you said both, does it matter if they pay that additional fee for the transaction if they have to or not? And all of the 8 of the 9 said it doesn't matter because
I'm sorry, it doesn't matter what?
If they pay it or not. They just said whatever.
If the person had to pay a fee?
Right. It's optional. It's optional if you pay the fee or not. So with that being said, it's optional. It's optional. They can pay it or they don't have to pay it.
Oh, for those pastors in their churches.
No. They're in these particular apps or transactions like with the swipe or whatever you swipe your card.
They had, it was optional.
It's optional. You have an option to pay the fee or not. So entirely, you said entirely, you have to pay the fee in order to use it. The other app, you don't have to. So they said it didn't matter. And then some pastors said they do bring it to their attention. If they do, they do. They said real givers will go ahead and do it anyway. He said whatever they don't do, God will supply. The one pastor said, I just had this conversation today with my wife. You so on point. He said, I just want cash and checks. He said, because we paid thousands of dollars in transactions. So I went online to Sharice, and I'm gonna tell y'all this real quickly. The average church, or shall I say, the average expenses that happens with a ministry is anywhere between 2.83 to 4.35, 2.87 to 4.35% of transactions up to $1,000. So I went in and did some fees. I did some fees. So listen to this.
Okay.
Let's say you got 20 people in your church that are given $1,000, let's say every other week. Let's just say at least $1,000 in a month. Okay. We're talking about $10,200 some dollars a year in transaction fees that the church would be responsible if they did have to pay for their fees.
If they had to pay their fees.
So that's a lot of money. And I started talking to one pastor, and we were talking about outreach. Do you know what you can do with $10,000?
Yeah, you could do a lot.
Sharice,
That's a lot.
Now,
You can do a lot.
I have to say this, and I'm about to confess. The Bible says confession is good for the soul.
Yes, of course it is.
When I looked at this and I thought about, I love the convenience of being able to swipe my card, and that's just me. I love that convenience, but
Okay.
I'm not one to do the fee thing. So, with that being
So you
said,
say you don't want to do the fee thing.
I don't do the fee things, Sharice. I don't.
Oh, I hear you.
I'm whispering. I don't do the fee thing, but
That's
I
fine.
have decided though that I'm either going to do cash or I'm going to either pay the fee moving forward, because it's just a wait. It's just a wait on the show. So I'll make up in my mind whether I'm going to do that option. Y'all call and talk to us at 929-717-8256. We want to hear.
You know why? Because I'm gonna tell you, I'm not doing any fees. I tell you exactly what I've been doing during COVID. I take me and my mama's checks.
This is so true, Bishop. Mm-hmm.
I tell you, I take me and mom. The choice still is based on the individual. It is for sure based on the individual.
I agree.
And I agree because during COVID, I worked during COVID. I was what they call an essential worker. So I took me and my mama's tithes down to the church, and all we had to do was put them through the slot where the mail goes through. And we just put the checks right through there, and that was it. We paid no fees. They got our checks, and it was great.